Well, hello everybody and welcome back to another film. As you can see, today I'm not out and about, I'm in the office, and the reason for that is there's been a number of people of late asking if I will do processing videos on the channel to show how I achieve the results of the shots that I take when I'm out and about making videos. There's one particular image, and that's the reason I'm doing this today, has sparked quite a bit of interest, and I'll put that image on now. It's one of the woodland floor images that I took. I've been doing a lot of close-ups, particularly since lockdown, as they're pretty accessible right throughout that period, and I've continued to enjoy them ever since. So as you can see, this woodland floor image, beautifully lit, and a number of you are really interested to know how I achieved that result. Well, I have to say, I don't do a lot of image manipulation or editing to my shots. I like them to remain true to how they were when I captured them. I generally use Lightroom and Photoshop, as you will see with this, but not a lot, to be totally honest, has been done to this, but I'll take you through that in a second. One person actually thought that it was studio lighting to get that result, which was certainly not the case. As you saw in the video, I'll put a link above, that the lighting was just generally bright, overcast, not a normal day. So let's bob into Lightroom first of all, where I'll start the process off, and I'll take you through the editing exactly as it was with that particular image. So here we are in Lightroom, and we've got the image as was the final edit on the main screen. And if you look down in the film strip, down in the bottom left hand side, you see two images here. The one on the right is a copy. These are both raw files. If you just look up here where the arrow is, you can see that the extension, the suffix PEF, which is the Pentax raw file. So both of those are raw files. That's the original, and the one on the right is the copy with nothing done to it. So if I just bob the panel out, the develop module out on the right hand side here, and press the reset button, so you can see that that is how the image started life, straight out of the camera. So in a nutshell, when I start editing an image, the first thing that I generally go to is the lens correction. So I will add a tick to both those boxes, remove chromatic aberration, and enable profile corrections. The next place I go to, I'll shut that down, is I go to the basic panel, which is the one right at the top. Just close that up. So you can see here at the top where it says basic, this is where all the global adjustments are generally done. Now by global I mean to the entire image and not to individual segments of it. So I always start with blacks and whites, and what I do on my Mac is I hold down the Alt key and press the little slider there on the blacks, which turns the screen this strange white colour, and if I move it to the right, you can see those yellow dots disappear, those blotches, and then they become more apparent red and black as I move to the left. So what I'm basically doing here is I'm getting rid of all the areas where black is clipping on the left hand side. If you look at the histogram up here, you'll see that the blue triangle at the top there is still got a little bit of colour in it. So if I move further to the right, it then becomes clear, and the black clipping has gone. Similarly with the whites above, hold down the Alt key and press the little slider button, and if I move it to the left, there's no clipping on that side. Move it to the right, and you can see that's where the whites are starting to clip. So if I release at the point where there's no more clipping of the highlights, it's not a great result. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just slide that down until I'm happy with the result that I want to achieve with the white, sorry. And I'm going to hold that there around about a 20, plus 20 or plus 21. I'm actually just going to take the blacks down a little bit more, just to there, just to get a bit more detail within those shadows. The next thing I'm going to adjust is the temperature, the colour temperature, and I'm going to warm that up ever so slightly, not very much at all. I'm just going to take it up to about there, I think. Yep, that's about right. And I think let's just have a look at the shadows. Let's just see what they look like if I bring them up, just to bring a bit more detail into those areas there. About there, I think, is what I'm happy with. Okay, so I can now close the basics panel, and I'm going to move down to the HSL hue saturation and luminance panel, and this is where I can affect individual colours. Now I want more of an autumnal feel to the whole image, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the saturation at the top there, and I'm going to increase the orange a little bit just to bring a bit more warmth in. Probably about there, plus 18 is quite nice. And then the greens, just to lift these green areas a little bit, I'm going to go again, just increase the saturation, not very much at all on this occasion, plus 7. Yep, quite like that. And then lastly, I'm going to affect the hues, and I'm going to take the yellow down ever so slightly, and I think round about there, I think. Let's just have a look. Yeah, it's just remove that yellow cast that I'm not overly keen on. And that's it for the hue saturation. And then the last thing that I did to this image was I added a vignette, and that's with the radial filter up here at the top. Now all that you do with the radial filter is you just draw and create a circle like that, and it darkens the outside of the circle as long as I've got the invert unticked. I'm going to leave the feather at 50, and I'm going to reduce the exposure on the outside of the image. Let's have a look. I think about there is quite nice, very mysterious, and the idea of this is it creates a focal point for your eye to focus in on that central green leaf, and it stops you searching too much around the edges. The detail around the edges is there, but it just makes you focus on the central point. And that is pretty much everything that I did to that image. Now hopefully the acid test, if I just move on to the left hand side here, we'll see if there's a difference between the two images. There's a slight difference, and that's because the vignette that I've applied to the original image won't be in exactly the same place with exactly the same values as the new one that I've just created. There's not a lot in it. If I go to the left there, that's the original, and then the right, there is a little bit of difference, but it's marginal. But that's all the basic adjustments and the HSL adjustments are virtually the same as what I did to the original image that you saw on the video. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bob that into Photoshop, and I'm going to show you how I sharpened the image ready for the final image that you saw on the film. So that's going to take a couple of seconds to transfer over to Photoshop. So here is the image. If I just make it to fit the screen, that's the transferred now into Photoshop, ready for the final stages of the post-production. So for the films, I generally make the images 4000 pixels along the longest edge. Just fits nicely into my editing software. You put that at 100%, you can see that already that's beautifully sharp without any sharpening applied to it, but I am just going to crisp it up. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop the layer into the plus box down on the right hand side here, which duplicates it. You can click Command or Control J, which will do the same job on PC and Mac, but that's the quick way of doing it that I like. I'm going to go to Filter at the top and Other, and I'm going to apply a high pass filter. So here we've got the radius, and I generally don't go above 2, very, very rarely. You can see there's too much detail coming through, too much of the edge, too much of the subject has been affected. So we're normally looking for the edge detail, really. The fine edge detail is what I'm looking for. So I'm probably going to go to about maybe 1.5, something like that, and click OK. So now if I go to where it says Normal in the box here, all that I need to do is apply the soft light, and that applies the filter, the sharpening to the layer. So if I just turn it off, and if you watch the leaf in the middle, I'll turn it back on now, it just snaps it into really sharp focus. And then I just flatten the image at the end, and it's ready to be used on the film, and that is pretty much how I edit the images. Now, just before I finish, this was something that really surprised me, this hair here, and I still haven't got to the bottom, and I probably never will, as to whether this is human or animal. But it's amazing when you look at these fine detailed images, these macro images close up, just what you find when you get it on the screen that you just didn't see at the time, didn't have any idea that was there. And yeah, I found it a little bit unsettling when I first saw it, just thinking that it might be human hair, but very strange. But I'm trying to convince myself that it's hair from a dog, and someone's been brushing the dog at the back of the car when they were on the car park. But who knows? Yeah, quite a weird one to find on your image, that. But I'm going to leave it on. I'm never going to take it off. It's part of the image. It's exactly what was taken. And yeah, so there we have the final image as you see it in Photoshop, taken through the process of Lightroom to the final edit, and there we have it. So I think I'm going to leave it there, folks. If you've enjoyed the video today and you want to see more of this sort of thing on particular images, please do let me know in the comments below here, and also on the videos on the day if there's anything particular that you like the looks of and you want to see how I've edited it, and I will try to slot that into the schedule of videos that I do. So thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.